Hey everybody, Michael Soothing here. Somebody said, one of my subbies, can you do one of those videos where you're reading the paper or a magazine or something, but the camera's pointed down at it on the table like you did before, instead of just reading it, like this. So I'm just gonna do a random thumb through of Card Player magazine. Okay, Card Player. Since I do some poker tournaments from time to time, but because I'm having a little bit of fall allergy issue, I'm gonna chew some of this Big League Chew gum. While I'm reading it, and that way I hope to avoid a scratchy throat. So let me point this down at the Card Player magazine and see what we can find of interest. All right, here we go. I have my little faceted worry ball here. I'll keep that handy. And let's just thumb through Card Player and see what's going on. This is an older one. Mostly what you'll see in these is all ads. Ads for Card Player cruises. That one's in September. This one is in October. This guy has a casino in LA, but he's a bad guy. I would not go to his casino. I won't even discuss his name. He's a disgusting individual, and we'll leave it at that. Jason Mercier dominates early at the 2016 WSOP. That stands for World Series of Poker. Here's some of the guys who have some wins. They're names that are not so familiar in the poker world, now that so many are getting in on the action, Poker Pro on his latest win. We look at it like family bracelets. He's won bracelets in 3 straight summers of play. The bracelet is the coveted gold bracelet you get for a win in a World Series of Poker event. All poker players would like to have one of those if they enjoy tournaments. You could win a Yamaha VMAX. What does that have? A V8 engine on it? Looks like it's got a huge engine. So you're riding basically around on a giant high horsepower engine. It's a good way to die, I suppose. Player of the Year standings. Let's see if there's anybody that we can even recognize. Paul Volpe. But there's very few recognizable. Tony Dunst, I recognize him. Sometimes they do these tournament hand matchups and discuss them, like this one. In the World Series of Poker event number 14. $1,500 buy-in Millionaire Maker. We're getting too much reflection. Let's zoom in a little. What we see here is that this guy was dealt 2 aces, the best starting hand in poker. This guy was dealt, this woman, Sophia Lovgren, was dealt King 10 offsuit. The flop came perfect for Mikhail Simin. Ace 10 10 were the 3 up cards on the flop, giving him a full house. Aces full of 10s. And it was a trap hand for Sophia Lovgren because she has 3 10s there, see? She's got 2 of those 10s, so she's got 3 10s with a king and an ace. She thought her hand was a monster, right? The turn and the river come, and Sophia's hand becomes 10s full of kings, but her hand is not as strong as the aces full of 10s. So, let's see, it's short-handed. The blinds are 800,000, 160,000, with a $20,000 ante. So they're way deep into the tournament, and in the final stages, Saman realized Lovgren was nursing a short stack when the action folded around to his small blind. He knew she could expect him to open and jam with a wide range of hands to steal the big blind. In other words, at this stage, you're going to raise a lot, even with weak hands, to try to get your opponent to fold their forced bet. But he happened to have a monster hand, so he raises. In an effort to trap her, he simply limped in. That means he just called her blind bet. With 2 Broadway cards, that means 2 big cards that she had, and her chip position, she would likely have called an all-in raise from Semin anyway. But after Semin just called, she might have been inclined to move all in with her far leaner holdings. But once she woke up with king high, she quickly moved her chips in. Semin surprised her with his aces and proceeded to flop aces full against her trip 10s. Sophia was down to the 1 out for the case 10. The only way she could have won was to get 4 10s, you know. But she made a full house, but it was not as good as his. She busted out 12th for $75,000. Okay. That's the way it goes sometimes. You think you have a monster hand, and your opponent has a bigger monster hand. This guy Soverell has racked up $2.5 million in live tournament earnings, it says here. Wouldn't that be nice to be able to rack up profits like that? I have to back this up again, like this. Here is another hand analysis, but we're not going to go through 2 hand analysis. This week's big winner wins the World Series of Poker Millionaire Maker event. This guy. Ace King to Ace 10. The Ace King prevailed, as it usually would in that situation. the board ends up giving him a king on the river, and he takes down a giant pot. Many more. This is the most interesting part to me of this magazine. Some of these big tournament hands and how they were played. Foxwoods is a big casino in Connecticut. I played there one time, actually twice, when I was traveling to work in Massachusetts. I would drive down to Connecticut on the weekend and play. Silicon Valley's place to play. This is where I used to play poker all the time. Bay 101. They have a lot of tournaments there. More hand analysis. World Poker Tour's main event. These guys have a TV show, but they have the worst online software you can imagine. It's like something from 30 years ago, the earliest days of the computer. I don't understand why they would use such terrible software with their online site. I was gonna get on their site and play, but their software was so bad, I refused to stay with it. Card Player Cruises. Top Poker Pro becomes top poker instructor. This guy has some good books out. I have a couple of them, and he has an online training program. He has a lot of interesting theories and concepts and strategies, not all of which many of us would agree are the best. Some of what he advises is counterintuitive, but he does have a very good record. He claims that he takes notes on every single hand that he plays, or that he did so for many years, and that people at the table would give him grief about it, but it was a major part of his winning strategy. So I used to take notes on people when I played online, because it's easy to do on PokerStars. Top 5 mistakes that amateurs make. Overplaying marginal made hands. This is like an amateur has pocket queens, right? And before the action gets around to them, somebody puts in a giant raise, and someone else goes all in for all their chips. Two conservative players, right? And this guy with pocket queens says to himself, I can't lay down these two big queens because I've been playing all day and I've never seen a hand this good, right? But the fact is those queens are now worthless because one of your opponents has aces or kings probably, depending on the situation, of course, if they're conservative players that are ahead of you. And so, in a tournament especially, you can't afford to make that mistake. But we see a lot of this. A guy with pocket kings thinks he has a fantastic hand, and of course he does. And then the flop comes with an ace on it, and there's a raise, a bet, and a raise, and a re-raise in front of him. That means his kings are no good. Somebody's got aces. He's got to throw his kings away, but he can't do it, so he loses chips. The next mistake, re-raising pre-flop with only premium hands. In other words, you should re-raise sometimes so that they can't read you. You should re-raise sometimes with hands that are not so fantastic so that people can't read your play. Otherwise, every time you re-raise, they're going to throw their cards away. Playing incorrectly with a short stack. This is called tournament, play in tournaments. Most amateurs play way too tight or way too loose with a short stack. That means not many chips in front of them. Failing to study away from the table. That's a lazy player who always thinks they know what they're doing, but they don't. It's best to continuously study the game, read books, read software, analyze your play, find the leaks in your game and plug them. Worrying about short-term results. Yeah, lots and lots of players complain about how unlucky they are, but sometimes people make their own bad luck. Besides which, in the long run, it's not luck that matters, but skill. In the short run, luck can be real good or real bad for your game, but in the long run, it's your skill that matters. To become a big winner in poker or business, it says here, you must be ruthlessly competitive, brutally realistic, and extremely disciplined. You really need all three. You also have to be willing to take risks, I would add, because that can go against some people's tendencies, like my own. You have to take risks, but you must do it at the right time, not just any old time. You need to take those risks at the perfect time, okay? So, tournament hand matchup, another analysis. You can get tournament results by looking up their website chart and things, and it will tell you who won all these different events. Sort of like a Hall of Fame thing. This tells you the daily tournament schedule at various casinos. So I know that if I want to play in Oregon, let's see if they have Oregon here. Well, I've been playing in Sacramento, so if I look on the California section, somewhere here it's going to have where is it? I don't see it. They don't seem to show the Capital Casino in Sacramento. They should have it here, but they don't for some reason. Maybe they have to pay to put it in or something. Who knows? Let's see what Oregon has, if anything, on this schedule. Does O come after N? I see Ohio. Here's Oregon. The Wild Horse Casino. I don't know where that is. I have not played there. But the problem here is my SD card has 2 minutes of time left. So we're just going to wrap this up. Look at this last thing. When I was a donk. See the donkey? A donk is like an idiot in poker. Someone who plays badly. I guess this guy is telling you how to avoid being a donk, giving his own real-world examples of how he played badly at the beginning, or at some point in his tournament life. He was one of Australia's first online poker superstars, winning millions under the name Andy McLeod. But we're out of time on the SD card, so we'll come back and do another magazine or newspaper in future. Until then, everybody, don't ASMR and drive. Take care. Bye-bye.